Two of the stalwarts in the SEC get together on Saturday. We don't see the matchup too often because of the division alignment like we used to back in the old days. I'm going back pre-1992, but it's LSU, Tennessee, both undefeated in conference play. And, of course, the Vols undefeated overall. Charlie Burris on the line with us from Big Orange Podcast. Get on over there. Check out Charlie's work. Charlie, what's going on?
Not much. Excited to get back on it after the bye week. Always a good week every season where you get to do whatever you want instead of having to work all Saturday. So it's always good.
That's it. All right. Well, we haven't talked to you since the win against Florida. There was a mixed bag there. It ended up being close on the scoreboard, but Tennessee had control of the game in the second half, fourth quarter, based on what I saw, which was most of the game. What makes you feel better about this team, or maybe a little bit more concerned after watching them against the Gators?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of really good that came from that game, and some places where you really got exposed for your weaknesses. I mean, the way that I put it last week in analyzing that Florida game is that Tennessee did not dominate, but they dictated that game in full. There was never a moment where it felt like that was getting away from Tennessee. Like they, even when they went down early in the first half, it was still like, okay, well, they're down, but the offense is like really humming. You just got to come right back. You got to score, get this lead back. And ultimately they did. Built a 17-point lead, and that was enough. You needed all of those points. You shouldn't have, but you did because it's Florida. And ultimately, I mean, Tennessee should have won that game by 17 points. Just screw-ups at the end, and honestly, just more miracles for Florida against Tennessee. It seems like it happens every single year against a team. On an onside kick that was probably the most beautiful onside kick I've ever seen. I mean, it was just unbelievable. Like, it was stuff like that, and it took that for Florida to be close to that game. So, with that said, the offense was incredible. Hendon Hooker looks like an actual Heisman contender. That's amazing, and it bodes well for the rest of the season. Your defense looked terrible. They got absolutely roasted from top to bottom. The defensive line held Florida's run game in check very, very effectively, and that's good. But just that secondary is absolutely brutal. I don't think that there's even really a fix scheme-wise that Tim Banks could implement that's going to just flip and make it better. I think any team that can effectively pass against you is going to be a serious, serious problem for Tennessee. Thankfully, LSU, that doesn't really seem to be the case, but you never know.
Yeah, LSU's got a loaded wide receiver room, but they're not a passing team, and Jaden Daniels isn't necessarily Peyton Manning in terms of precision passing, picking apart a defense. He's an athlete back there that's got an arm, and so that's what you're going to face is his running threat, and hope that you can prevent the occasional big play downfield, because that's what he's going to do. That would be the effective LSU passing attack against Tennessee, would not be the 23 for 27, we just carved you up. It would be the not much over 50%, but chunk play, broken field tackle, blown coverage, took advantage kind of thing.
Exactly. Some of the biggest plays for Florida were just like screen passes, and just Tennessee couldn't tackle. It was basically like if Florida got to the second level against the linebackers, against the secondary, it was just over. They just were having the hardest time doing anything effectively back there. And that's not great. But I do think across the board, that game gave you a ton of confidence just as a team. It continues to build faith, not just with the fans, but with the team and Josh Heupel and what Heupel is doing. I mean, when you see the system that he runs, as unique as it is, when you see it win big games, I mean, what can you do other than believe in what he's doing? And I think that's massive. More so against Florida. You don't play LSU too often, but just against Florida, it was such a giant mental block. Just everything about that game just worked against you mentally. Tennessee always lost that game between the ears. And finally, even when things were going completely haywire there at the end, Tennessee stuck it out and you still won the game. And it was huge to get over that for belief with this team. I think now you almost look at the season and you go, 10-2 is like right here for you. That's, and as insane as that is, from what a dumpster fire Jeremy Pruitt left behind. I mean, realistically speaking, you win this week, 10-2 is probably the most likely outcome, which I will say before the season started was not something I thought was going to happen. So it's pretty crazy. And I mean, man, this, you thought last week was massive. I think this one is huge, just in kind of different ways from last week.
Folks, please like the video. It's a simple thing to do. Just click the like button. It helps us here at the Voice of College Football. Subscribe. Get on over to the Big Orange podcast with Charlie Burris breaking down the balls. Huge one against LSU in Death Valley, of course, notoriously one of the more difficult places to play. There's been one road trip against a decent team, and that was Tennessee going to Pitt. Overtime game. They survived there, but this is a whole different animal. But, you know, these guys play in the SEC. They're used to hostile environments, packed crowds, that sort of thing. But, you know, this is certainly on the top of the scale when it comes to what's expected to be a big home field advantage for LSU. And they're coming off a nice win against Auburn.
Yeah. The thing that really works in Tennessee's favor, despite this being on the road, is the time slot. LSU fans were just beside themselves over the fact that this ended up being a noon game. I think Tennessee fans should have been ecstatic about it, as much as I would have loved, just for the pageantry and, you know, the viewership really for this game. You would have loved it to be the 3:30 game, for it to be the 7:00 game, whatever. But realistically speaking, for Tennessee's chances to win this game, this couldn't have worked out better. 11 a.m. local time. You also have the factor that Josh Heupel is famously a morning person. He's really big on morning practices, and he says that his favorite part of the day is when he gets to greet his players at 7 a.m. when they come in the door. And so hopefully they will be really prepared. I think so many wonky things can happen in noon games. You get Alabama almost losing to Texas, and just I think a few years ago with Jeremy Pruitt, as bad as he was, they played a noon game at Auburn with a dumpster fire of a football team and ended up beating Gus Malzahn in Auburn. I mean, it was so strange and shocking. Weird stuff happens when you get that time slot. I think it works in Tennessee's favor. They should be absolutely prepared coming off the bye week. Josh Heupel's record in his head coaching career off the bye week, I think, is like 6-1, 5-1, something like that. He's very good off the bye week. Last year, it was against a ranked Kentucky team. They went on the road to Lexington at night and won there at Grocery Store Field. And I mean, it was just there's no better way that this game could have set up for Tennessee. I think it's not going to be easy to win at LSU. LSU fans are going to be fired up to be the top 10 team. You have switched from being the hunter to being the hunted now. You are the top 10 team. You are ranked far above LSU. I think they came in at 25 this week or something in the AP poll. And so, you know, there's that factor. Like, they're going to be bloodthirsty, but I also think there's going to be a ton of Tennessee fans there. I mean, I personally know a whole set of people that will be there. And so it's going to be really exciting, but it's going to be tough. It's definitely going to be tough to win there.
Back to the personnel matchup with LSU. You had mentioned before we started to record, there's a loss in the secondary, but there's a gain in the secondary on the roster.
Yeah, so Warren Burrell, his cornerback, out for the season. He went down a couple of games ago, had surgery that ends his season. I believe it was a shoulder. And he was not playing well prior to that. And people were actually kind of calling for him to get replaced. But really, Tennessee just does not have replacements at that position at the moment. But you have D. Williams, who I believe is a junior college transfer coming in. He got pretty great reviews during fall practice and then has been injured up to this point. Heupel said today in his press conference, it being Monday of LSU week, Heupel said in his press conference that D. Williams will be available. He will be playing against LSU. The way that Heupel has managed this roster, plenty of players have been available, and they just don't play. So that's no guarantee that you're going to see him in this game. But it's such a dire situation at defensive back right now. I think he's the perfect option to get in there and give you help. But you've been playing without Warren Burrell for 2 weeks now. You beat Florida without Warren Burrell. So I'm not panicking over that just because he was having such a rough time before. Then you beat Florida without him, and you get D. Williams back. So there's that's the whole situation there. You also have Cedric Tillman, Tennessee's best wide receiver. You beat Florida without him also, and had incredible performances from other guys that you were hoping that you would. And Tillman had the tightrope surgery for high ankle sprain, which if you remember back, like Tua Tagovailoa had that before the national championship game a few years ago. It really, really helps you get back quicker from a high ankle sprain. It kind of brings it down from like a 6-8 week thing to, I think, more like 3-4 week thing. I don't think he's playing this week. Again, that doesn't totally worry me. LSU's defense is better than Florida's defense. I will absolutely say that. Florida has one of the worst defenses in the SEC at this point. A product of that is the fact that Tennessee absolutely roasted them, but they still they couldn't stop anything in the run game, and passing. Tennessee did whatever they wanted, and against LSU, I don't think that's going to be the case as much. I would expect you essentially put a 40 on Florida. I would expect this to hang more around the 30 point for Tennessee, and it's just going to come down to making sure you can hold LSU under that. And I think LSU's offense is not as good as Florida's offense. So, take that at what it is in terms of your analysis. I think Jaden Daniels might be hurt coming into this game. Something happened. He's limping pretty badly off the field. I think he will play, but he might have a bum leg, and who knows exactly what happens there. But if you're relying on him to run, that's not good. So, it's different than Florida, although I have a pretty similar feeling to the Florida game here, where I think Tennessee is your better team. Will they go out and execute? We'll have to see.
Yeah, that's Jaden Daniels' game is running. So
yeah.
Not a good thing there. Garrett Nussmeier came into the game on one particular drive against Auburn, and talented quarterback, highly ranked when he came out of high school, but misfired on a few shots and was met with the wrath of Brian Kelly on the sideline, who was all red-faced and screaming at him. So he did something wrong, maybe besides throw a bad pass. But that's it. Tennessee's the 3-point favorite in Death Valley. 62.5 is your over/under, folks. All right, Charlie. Big Orange Podcast. Get on over there. Check out Vols talk right there. When does that usually upload?
So we've started doing live streams every week, every Monday at 4 p.m. I believe this will go up after we've already done that. But go to the A to Z Sports Nashville YouTube channel, and you'll see the live show there. It'll obviously be posted after we do the live, and Facebook too, A to Z Sports Nashville, and you'll see the live show there. And 4 p.m. on Mondays, and then I do a game day show with former Tennessee quarterback Jonathan Crompton. Halftime, post game of every Tennessee game, me and Jonathan give our analysis. So that's where you can find me.
Nice. Thanks, Charlie, for stopping by. Enjoy the game. It should be a good one.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mark.